In this video, we'll be learning how to use Unity's windows and how to use them properly so you don't mess up, and you learn a lot about the interfaces. So the first interface we'll be talking about is the scene view, and then we'll talk about the game view, which is the easiest, then the inspector, then the project manager, project view, and the hierarchy. Okay, so let's get straight to it. First, we have the scene view. In the scene view, you will create your own games. You will add, this is basically the level. So 90% of your time will come over here and then making levels, doing adjustments and stuff like that. It's done in the scene view. So let's give an example so you understand what is going on. So let's click on the plus icon and then 3D object in a cube. So we have our cube here. And the best part about Unity is if I go to the game view, I'm gonna say first, let's just adjust the camera. And if I go to the game view, we got yourself a cube. So the camera is basically the game's camera right here. So as you can see, the game here, and we got the scene here. And this is how scene view works. And scene view can have multiple different properties. So in the scene view, you have your dots. So you click on an object by clicking on that object. You select an object by clicking on that object. You move around the scene's camera by right clicking. You can use Alt as well to move around, but I recommend the right click. This works fine. This works amazing. And you can zoom in by using the scroll wheel, but unfortunately my scroll wheel is not working. Now if you mess up, you will go to Window, Layouts, Default, and this is the default layout you will see. So this is the default layout you will see about everything. Yeah, that's it. So the default layout is here. Now in the in the left hand side, we have the hierarchy. Now hierarchy is every game object in your game object in your scene will come over here. So as you can see, we have our cube, we have our directional light, we have our main camera going on here. We have, if I add another cube, that's another cube, we got another cube, and we have that cube in our hierarchy. Now that's how hierarchy window works. Is every game object you will see, like for example, this guy is the player and this guy is another plane or something. So you can see that over here. To manipulate any object, now the first thing I have to do is just zoom in. Now the problem is I cannot zoom in, so that's a very big problem. So I'm sorry about that. So how do you scale? You scale by clicking on that object and using the scale property here. Now we need to talk about how the inspector works, then we'll go into how project works. So in the inspector is basically you click on that object and you want to change its properties, right? So where is the position, where is the rotation, and where is your scale? And that's how basically what the inspector is. It inspects whatever the object you click on, whatever object you have. For example, let's add a simple simulation. Can I see this? Yes. So first, what I'm gonna do, and if you don't understand, don't worry. I'm gonna add a rigid body. Basically, it's a physics body, and see what happens. So the rigid, my goddamn Unity has a problem. Okay, I need to restart the Unity and talk to you later. But for now, the body here, the cube here, will fall down. That's basically what will happen. That's what I wanted to show you. So the body, the cube here will fall down. Now the reason it will fall down is because of this rigid body. Now if I remove that rigid body, it will not fall down. So basically how Unity works is basically giving different, these are called components. So components creates a game object. So a player component may have a player controller script attached to it. A camera component may have a camera controller attached to it. A player component may have a rigid body. A main camera component, the camera component may have a camera component, the camera game object, main camera game object should have a camera component. If I turn off the camera, and build a game, and I cannot see anything, the reason is the camera is turned off, but there is no camera. That's the reason how everything works in Unity. Now, if you came from Godot, this is a high possibility you came from my Godot videos. Think about independent object. Now remember that in Godot we have to create a lot of scenes, and then we have to add a lot of scenes to the Unity to the Godot main scene, the world scene. So in here you don't have to do that. What you have to do is just change the properties here, and bam, it got changed. Now that's how it basically works. Now what is the project window for? Everything that you need to organize. You have your assets. For example, we have the wave file, we have sound effects, we have background music, we have images, I mean sprites, like the player sprite, we have textures, so we have models. Everything is an asset, so every asset will go under here. So in every script, really important, every script will go under a assets file. Now these are independent things that will come up, they join together to build a game. Now that's how basically it works. We will add our very own script sooner or later, but I want you to play around with these values so you see what you can come up with. Now there's another quick shortcut you can use using the QWERTY thing. So if I hit Q, I can pan around. If I hit W, I can move an object. If I hit E, I can rotate the object. If I hit R, I can scale the object. If I hit T, I can scale in a particular direction if I want, like this, and it will go in each axis, right? So as you can see, it's a way huge looking thing. I don't know what it is. So that's how you create simple things. So what I want you to do is just mess around. And if you messed around a way bit, like this, like that, like this, and you cut everything, and we have nothing to look out, what you do is go to Window, Layouts, Default, and as you can see, we got everything back. So don't worry about messing up. You can fix it as many times as you want. And there are a lot of properties I want you to play through, but for now, just play with the cube and then make the cube inside of the camera. Play with that, and the camera is here, and as you can see, the camera, I can see that. And let's create a plane, simple plane, just make it a little bit like that, and a Z like this. We have ourselves a plane to work with. Okay, so yeah. Now remember, a really great tip to remember is do not do your thing in a play mode, please. So it will get reset. It will get a goddamn reset, just like what had happened here. So I clicked on the play button and it did everything, and you click off the play button and bam, it got reset like that. So let's turn on our camera so we can see our object. So I want you to mess around with different things and different values, and there's a really cool stuff that I want to show you. Number one is using the material tab. So right click, create. As you can see, these are all assets. So the one thing I need is a material. So material, let's add a material. Let's call it plane. Now this material is a reusable thing. Reusable, I would say a reusable texture or something like that. Yeah, it's a texture. So the reason we are using this is it's reusable. So I'm gonna drag and drop here, and as you can see, we got our texture change. The powerful thing about this, if I change the color, and in real time it will change. So in real time it will change. So the power of texture is right here, as you can see. So I want you to mess around with these things, and the cube, let's just reset first. Let's go here and reset its value. and let's see where it end up with. They end up with here, and we got another cube. So what I want you to do is add, where is it? So there's another way to quickly find your object. Press F. Click on object and press F to find that object. So if you mess up, this is a really good thing to know. And if I'm an idiot. If I turn off this, everything falls back. I don't know what is my problem, and don't ask me what is my problem. So let's reset this goddamn guy back here. And what is wrong with Unity for some reason? Just save this guy. Okay, so let's just drag and drop here, and let's drag and drop. As you can see, the power, you can use it as many times as you want. So let's create it. What I want you to do is create a new material, and then assign the material to this cube. So let's rename this guy to player, and let's assign this material to player. So I'm going to give you 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if you did it, good job. If you didn't, you just go to right click, create, and material, where is it? And then we write player, change the player. Let's make it a red color, right? Then just drag and drop here and make it like that, so it doesn't like mess up. The greatest thing about this, guys, and you can use normal maps. So as you can see, it's weird now. It's just, wow, it looks really weird, right? So I want you to mess around with different things. So let's see what you can do with it. I'm gonna remove this. How am I gonna do that? Just none, thank you. Emission and HDR, wow, look at this. It's just flowing. The HDR doesn't work because there's a lot of settings to mess up with, so don't use HDR basically. And yeah, that's how you use the basic, how Unity works most of the time. But what I see professionals use is basically your preference. Yes, that's the right word. Preference, but it's recommended that you use this layout, this 2x3 layout. Now this guy everything is in hand, so you can understand really easily, but mess around with different types of layouts and see how it works for you. And you can change the layout over here if you want. Now this is my layout, this looks really weird, and this is another layout, it works fine. So thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next video. Window. You can move the object as you wish, and like this. You're gonna go up, you're gonna go down, or whatever. Now remember that if you created a 3D project, then the camera's projection will be an perspective view. So I changed this to the orthographic view because we'll be creating a 2D game, and I'll show you how to create 3D as well, so don't worry. So it will be perspective view. Okay, so the perspective view, and it will be a skybox. Okay, so this is how it will look like default. So to move an object, you just click on it, and then you move the object like this. And how do you move around the scene? You use a couple of things. Number one, you use the middle mouse button to pan around to the scene, so I can like look at the scene, like the camera. I can look at the camera and I can change its position and stuff, and that's how it works. And the right mouse, the right click will give you a complete rotation of the camera, and it's pretty amazing to look at things and then going in. And one thing that you can also do using the scroll wheel, the scroll wheel of mine is not working for some reason. It's not the problem of the Unity game engine, however, it will be my mouse's problem. So don't worry, you can zoom in, and you can zoom out using the scroll wheel. So this is the basics of how a scene view works and how you add objects. Now, what are game objects? I need to make it as crystal clear as possible because that's how it works. Now, a game object in Unity is just a blank object with a position property. So what I mean by that, click create a new 3D object, empty, and this is a game object. So see, there's a transform view. There is literally nothing here. Okay, there's literally nothing here. I cannot see anything. Now, if I add something like, let's add a, what should I add? Render some kind, mesh renderer. Okay, mesh renderer, which material? Let's use this material. Oh, no. Let's use this material. Now what can? Okay, so let's just create a new cube here. And let's see, the mesh renderer, box collider, and yeah, it should work. What the heck? What the heck, man? Oh, I didn't add a transform. Anchor override. Does it have any anchor override? No, we're just gonna copy and paste all that crap in here. The default material. Sorry about that. Just a default material. That's still not working. Okay, screw that. Okay, so this is how you add a cube. So I cannot zoom in for the stupid mouse, but you can, and I'm going to show you some stuff. And if you click on these three arrows, you can move around the object. And if I click on the game here, and as you can see, this thing moves the real time. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to drag and drop the game here. Now if you mess up, now this is really important, if you mess up, like you missed like this, like that, and you're like, okay, what the heck I did, you'll just cut it out, everything. And what you're gonna do is go to window, where is it, layouts and default. Okay, this is how how you get it back. Now this is the basics, and the amazing part of Unity is this is what's known as build. I think it's this is in build time or something like that. What they call it. And when I run the game, it's called the runtime. So in build, this is real time right here, real time movement. So this is in the game view, and this is in the scene view. So it changes depending on the scene. Real time. You don't need to click on run every time. That's the power of Unity right there. In Godot, you cannot do that. If you're creating a procedural generation, something like that, you cannot do that, right? So this is the basics of those basics of how these things work, and you can mess around with this. Now if you want to change its scale, now in transform, look at here, in transform there's a position. You can change position right here like this. And the Z position will go far. Wow. It's pretty fun, right? To mess around. Okay. Now, we have the scale here. I can, like this, I can change its scale. I can make a wall or something, or make a big wall, something like that. So let's just, I'm gonna reset everything. Okay, so this is our player. Now, I don't know. I really don't know, should I create a 2D game or 3D game, but I'm gonna start with a simplistic 3D game. If you watched Bracky's, the how to make a game series, you'll know that what type of game we're creating. We're creating a simple basics of that game, okay? That game is so simple, it's so amazing to play on. So, okay, so this is your player. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna delete everything because we don't need that. We are creating a 3D game. Okay, we are creating a 3D game. I don't know. This is not a scripted video. So we have our cube here. So I'm gonna double click on that cube and let's say player, and the player is, you can change the name over here. Now remember, this is the scene view and the game view. Now we need to talk about the hierarchy and the inspector. Now hierarchy, every game object you will ever have will go in the hierarchy. So if I have a million cubes will pop up in the hierarchy. And you click on the cube or click on any game object, you can find the inspector view that will give you every information that you need. You can even add components. So I will add some cool components and you're like, wow, this is amazing. Okay, I will soon add. So make sure you subscribe because there's a lot of parts going on. I think this course maybe will be divided, or I don't know, maybe I just add everything together. That would be a fun thing to do. But whatever, make sure you subscribe, okay? Thank you. So so we will add a plane here. After that, we'll add a plane because there's nothing to stand upon. This cube is lonely. We don't have anything. So we hopefully understood how hierarchy and the inspector works. Let's look at the components. Now, there are millions of them. The basic form of components you will ever need for now is the rigid body. Rigid body. There's millions of them. You need to research. You need to learn about them, and you need to know when to use them. So what is this rigid body crap? So if I now play, now physics you need to run, and as you can see, it just falls down. Why it happens? Because the rigid body is a physics body. That what it simply means is the physics body will just keep on going down. It adds the gravity. If I just close the gravity, I'll just uncheck the gravity. If I play this again, and obviously it will not work. So I'm going to say ZZ. Yeah, this is the place will be nice. Okay, now it's time for add a plane. So what I'm going to do is just add a new 3D object, cube, and let's name it plane. Okay, so plane. Now let's think about what is this plane here. Now planes, y-axis will be a little like this, should be fine, and it would be like over here, should be fine, but the x will be really, really bigger, and the z will be bigger, like this. Let's make it start from the beginning. And if you want to create a level where it's infinite, you can do that, but we will not show you right now because it's a little bit what I'm saying. It's a lot complicated than this because procedural level generation is so weirdly complicated. Okay, so I don't even know how to do that. So like. The thing is not working. No, my stupid mouse. Okay, let's just go over here like this and it should be fine. Okay, so we'll be building a level over here. Now, the best Unity layout for I saw in the professional scene, is going to the window layouts and 2x3. 2x3 is the best for me. At least for me, it's amazing because it just feels so good. I don't know. I don't know how the heck you zoom out. Now this will be a tough thing to do because the stupid mouse is not working. Okay, whatever. What I'm gonna say? Okay, so we need to change these materials because see, these are too bland and these are too look meh. Right, we need to add some materials. We need to give them some things so they can, we can differentiate. Okay, so how am I gonna do that? We need to create a new folder first. It's called, what are we gonna call materials? Now, what are materials? Materials is basically a type of like a texture. If you know what a texture is, basically it's just a texture. You add that crap to a game object and just change its color, its things, something like that. So let's look at the material, and don't need to worry if you don't understand right now. So right click, create, and let's look at the material. Where is it? There you go. So let's go ahead and say player, and I'm going to change some things. I'm going to change, let's make it like a the reddish color. Let's metallic, no metallic, thank you. Smoothness 0. Smoothness with metallic alpha. Okay, fine. Emission? No, I'm not gonna make really complicated stuff. So I'm gonna drag, as you can see, it just changes real time. How cool is that? Now we can now differentiate between this. So let's now, if you want to follow along, go ahead. I have a assignment or something like that for you. Is create the plane material. Sorry, create a plane material and assign it to the plane. It should be simple. Well, let's see if you can do it. So I'm going to give you 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You didn't, right? Don't lie. If you did, good job. So right click, create, and create a new material. And I'm gonna say plain is the material. Let's look at just whitish color, whitish color. Okay, just like that, and boom. Now, why is the thing is not working? You may ask. Because let's just, as you can see, we can change the color, but the reason it's not working because of the directional light. We'll talk about these a little bit later. And as you can see, if I make it white, it's now 100% visible what we are trying to achieve. Now you see the camera here. Camera looks like, oh wow, this thing, we don't need to show the skybox, right? So go to your main camera, and in the skybox, I'm gonna change. Okay, I'm gonna just change to a solid color, and let's change to like, it's not rocket science, but it looks much better, right? All right. So hopefully you got to this point. Now it's time to add the coding stuff. Now I'm going to explain like most of the beginners needs to know. I'm not going to explain everything because that can create a course of itself. Okay, we're going to just go ahead and do some basic stuff. Okay, so let's get straight to it. So in the player, I'm gonna add a new script. Now what is a script? It's basically programming. It's basically a logic, a piece of logic that you put in, you give those values, and bam, it works. If you did it correctly, obviously. So we need to go to the assets, right click, create a folder, make sure you organize because you will mess up soon. And right click, create a new C# script. Let's look and say player, and the recommended thing is if it's a controller, add a player controller. Don't just leave it the player. Now I'm using again, Rider. I'm using Rider. You can use Sublime Text, you can use Microsoft Visual Studio Code, you can use Microsoft Visual Studio, even you can use anything you like. You can even create your own thing and use it. Don't worry about it, okay? Let's go. Come on, man. Okay, I'm coming back when it's... Okay, welcome back. So this is the stuff right here. Now, I'm not going to explain everything, just like I said, but what do you need to understand? That's what I'm going to explain. So first thing, yeah, you can feel like I'm dead. Like, what are these? And what are these? Right? So the first thing you need to understand is what we are using. We are using Unity engine. Just delete all of this crap. You don't need them. You just need the Unity engine. So you are using the Unity engine. That's it. Right? Oh God. Okay, so public class, it's a object-oriented language. If you don't know what it is, don't worry. It's using the name is player controller, and it's inheriting from monobehavior. Now, what is monobehavior, you may ask? Monobehavior is a class, like a parent class that says that every single game object it has to inherit from monobehavior. If it doesn't, it will not work. It's just a Unity specific, okay? So hopefully you understood this part. So player controller is the name, and monobehavior because we are going to be coding a game object. Now there are lots of different things. Like if you go into the little bit advanced stuff, there is scriptable object. Now that's a way advanced stuff. Don't need to worry about it. Okay. So what I want you to focus on is these two functions. These are called functions. What are functions? Functions is a piece of code that runs at a specific time. It can be defined or it can be undefined, which meaning it can be defined. You can define that when to run those functions, or it is undefined, or it is defined by itself, which meaning is it can run depending on the Unity engine. So these two things is dependent. Right? It's dependent on Unity. So start when the game starts. So I'm going to make it really easy for you. When the game starts, call start function. And update meaning when the game is running. Okay. So when the game starts, start the call function. So now think about it. Think about it when I am gonna use start. When? What's the reason here? So if you think really, really deeply, you'll know. You don't need to think really deep, but still, when I'm gonna use start is when the game starts. I want the score to be 0. If I want this the health to be 3 or 5 or whatever, and I want to make sure that everything is okay. Everything is like reset. Every values is reset or added some like speed. When the game starts, I want the player speed to be like 20, and when the game is progressing or something like that, I want the speed to increase. So the start function, and I want you to think about it and write it on your own way. So like this, you'll write comment, and then you'll write, let's think, health equals to like 0. And let's say health equals to 3, score equals to 0, and just come up with different things so you get this, you understand it really nicely. Okay, so let's give you an example so you get really comfortable. Now we'll be talking about variables sooner, so let's just talk about them and then we'll come back to these things. So what are variables? If you look at all of programming languages, variables are data containers. And what are data containers? Data containers are a name that holds a particular type of data that you can use in a later time. For example, I can say, if you know programming, you'll know int holds a whole number. So I say maybe score, and remove the private part because you don't need to worry about it. Int score, and when the game starts, I want the score to be 0. Of course, I don't want this guy to cheat, right? So I want the score to be 0. And when the game is running, I want the score to be, let's say, score plus 1. Okay, so score gets added every single time. So score gets added every single time. Then I'm gonna print score. Now what the print function does, it just takes it's an argument, but it's basically a parameter or argument, whatever you want to call it. It takes a parameter of what to print. So print, now what to print here. So print score, which means print score. That's it. So what the code will return is it will have a score to be in score. We define that, hey, we need a score. We'll need score. Then when the game starts, I set the score to 0, and when the game is running, I set the score to be 1. And when I run it, I see 1, and I don't have the console here, so I'm gonna go to Window, General, Console, and let's run this code again. Console, no? Oh, okay, you need to add this thing to the player. I forgot about that, see? So you need to add component. There are multiple ways to do this. Just add component, player, controller, or just drag and drop right there, and then run. And here you can see it just printing. It keeps on printing. Wait, it will mess up. As you can see, it just prints a lot of things. I'm gonna just clear this out, and this is how it works. Let's give another example so you get it in your head. So print game has started, and print game is running. But before that, let's just see what the start function does. Okay, save and play. And here you can see in this sorry, in the console view, you can say game has started. Means only once. Remember that it printed only once. I'm gonna make it off, and then I'm gonna just hide this guy, and I'm gonna start this thing. And the console says game is running. Let's see every single frame it's calling game is running. Hopefully now by this time you understand what the start function does and what the update function does. Now it's basically variables and things, different types of things. Okay, so let's look at more about, let's take a deeper look about variable. There are like, I think there's 5 types. There's int, there's float, there is a string, there is bool, which meaning true or false, and there is int, float, bool, string. Anything else? Int, float, bool, string. I think double is double meaning it can hold integer values. It can also hold floats value. Float meaning is a decimal value. So let's look at examples here. These are normal variables. There are multiple complex variables out there. But for now, let's look at, so int, let's say score. And automatically private gets inserted. I will talk about this a little bit later. So int score. Now for now, just ignore it. Int, let's say health. And let's just say this guy's a float, because score can change, but health, it will not change. It would have 1 2 3 4 health. Then bull is dead. And okay, welcome everybody, Cryptic here, back with another video. In this video we'll be learning about how to use prefabs for your game. So let's just do everything. Let's just go to the start and let's get started. First is, what is a prefab? A prefab is a prefabricated object that will help you in reusing your game behaviors or game objects. So if you want to reuse your player, your plane, or any type of game object, you will use a prefab. So let's get straight to it. First, let's go ahead and open up your prefabs in Unity and let's see what it returns. So let's go ahead and say learn.unity.com into the prefabs file. Now, prefabs are a special type of component that allows fully configured game objects to be saved in a project for reuse. So the main purpose of a prefab is to reuse that game object as many times as you like. So what is the power here is, let's look at some of the scenes. Now we will look at scenes in detail in a couple of videos, so you'll understand more about it. But for now, let's just add a new scene here so you can understand what is going on. Before I add a scene, let's add the prefab to your assets folder. So how do you create a prefab? You create a prefab by dragging and dropping your cube to the project assets panel here. We talked about how project panel works. So we'll right click, create a folder called prefabs. Inside the prefab, we will drag and drop the player, because let's just there's a player, drag and drop your player, and let's duplicate this. Let's add a duplication slide here. Now, how likely it is, okay, before I do anything, let me just do one thing. So let's just duplicate this once like this, and now you got yourself 4 players. Now imagine you need to change something, like I want to change its color. Right, so how am I going to do that? I'm going to just change this material for the better purpose here. So just going to change this to this color. Now see, but you wanted all of them to change, right? Right? Yes, you wanted all of them to change, but it just changed one game object. So the power of prefab here is if I create a prefab, let's just say player. Okay, let's delete this guy. Okay, now go to the prefab. We'll talk just go like that and just drag and drop. Now the power of prefab is if I duplicate now and like this and like that. Now if I want to change everything, what I'm going to do, I just click on this object over, say, open prefab. Then I'm going to change its value like that and save. You don't need to save, but still it works. And we go back, as you can see, sorry, everything got changed. The power of prefab is the reuse, so you can use it as much time as much as you like, and it duplicates it, it changes by each time. So for example, we talked about how to add components, right? There's a type of component called script, so we add behaviors and basically programming. But for example, if I want to change any values from that script, you can use prefab to reuse that player script or any script as you like. So that's how you create prefabs, and that's how prefab works. And I promised you to add a scene example. So let's add a new scene. We have a new scene. We'll just create a new scene, and we just drag and drop this guy here. That's it. Now we will go to the scenes, and then we just save the scene first. Let's say in the scenes folder, let's say level 2 or something, level 2. And then you need to do is go back to your sample scene, which is a sample scene. Then we got changed, right? Now let's go here, go to prefab and change the prefab and go back to a normal state. Let's make it normal. Go back. As you can see, everything changed. Now if I go to the another scene, as you can see, this changed as well. So these are two different scenes, but it worked like a charm. That's how you work. That's how you work with prefabs, and basically that's the basics of prefabs. So thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video. Okay, so just as we are doing, there was some short circuit and whatnot, and everything got crapped. So I'm now recording this again, not again, the second part. Okay, so let's get started. So we left off here as we had 3 variables. Now we need to make sure that all of them, that we need to make sure that we can give them values, okay? Because these guys are, they don't have any value. They have what's known as a null. It means it has nothing. So how can we make sure that it has some values, and we need to provide them? So for your game, score can be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, but I want it to change. So what I'm going to do, instead of private, I'm going to say public. So if I put all of them public and save, if I go back to the player, you can see that there is indeed public, and we can change these scores, health and stuff, and whatnot we can do. So we have a lot of stuff going on here, and you can have a is dead to true or false. Now in programming practice, do not make anything public. And you say, what? Do not make anything public? Then how? You just wrote public, right? Then why are you talking about that not to put public? The reason is, let me do that again, because in programming practice, if you are doing it for like a team or something, you will be sued a lot if you make your variables public. The reason is, it is really easy to mess up. It is seriously easy to mess up your code when you have public variables. So what you do is make it private. Now if you want to see the variables, you'll just add a serialized field. Serialization simply means that whatever the variable is, I want to know what it is and show it in the inspector. Basically show it in the inspector, show it in the inspector, show it in the inspector. What score? So then save and go back, and you'll see exactly the same thing with no changes. So this is the basics of how these things work, and there's more. This is not done yet. So let's go, and if you want to move, now movement is done by the rigid body. Now you say, hey, how am I gonna take the rigid body and do some crap with it, right? How am I gonna make it move? the easiest way to do this is by saying rigid body. There are multiple types. These are called types of data you want to store in your variable. One of the types, this is a complex type, is a rigid body. Any component can be a variable. Yes, any component, doesn't matter. It can be a box collider or whatnot. It can be a rigid body component. Oh, sorry, it can be a component that you can add a variable to. You can store that in a variable no matter what. So let's do the same thing. So I can see the RB or rigid body in the inspector. So I'm going to save and go back, and we have our RB here. We can then drag and drop your rigid body here. Now it knows that, hey, what I'm talking about is the player's rigid body. Okay, now we are done here. Now we need to make sure that we check for inputs, and when we click on a certain button, I want it to change, or I want something to happen. So before I go into movement and whatnot, I want to really simply take a quick look at materials. So it's going to be really easy when you understand how it works. So same thing, serialized field, material. Material can also be, okay, hey man, just go ahead with that. Material and say mat. Okay, now when I want to check for if I hit the left button. So how to check this? You'll create an if statement. Then after you hit if you're using Microsoft Visual Studio Microsoft Visual Studio, the IDE, or you're using this editor, which is Rider, you'll just hit if and then hit tab, and it automatically generates for you. How awesome it is. So then we say input.get mouse button down. Now input.get mouse button down, it is a function that returns and 0. Don't forget to add 0, please. The 0, it simply means the left click. So when this line simply means if we left click anywhere in the game, then I want to change the material. So first I need to get the material. I need to get the material, which is from I think it's from the mesh renderer. Okay, mesh renderer. So how to do this? We do the same. Let's just remove this for now. I don't need one. So let's go ahead, and we need to add a mesh renderer as well, because we are going to be changing. See, mesh renderer and rend, and we will say rend dot material equals to mat. And what it simply means is renders material. So we will drag, pay close attention please if you're not, because this is important. So render, I'm gonna drag and drop the mesh renderer here. Now what is this mesh renderer? Mesh renderer is referring to the player's mesh renderer. So mesh renderer's material, which is the player, I can change it to like this, and it changes its color, right? So changes its color, right? So same thing, when I change, what I'm saying is if you want to do that by code, you will just write render, which is the mesh renderer, dot material, which is the material here, the material, the element 0, the materials under material, right? You need to change this to a certain material. Now what this material is, it's a mat. So we don't specify this. We need to specify this. So right click, create new material. Let's say new player. This is just for demonstration purposes only. So let's make it this color, make it no, and I'm going to save this guy out. Then go to the player and drag and drop your material here. And when I run, and if I hit the key, as you can see, the material got changed. So this is how it works. It's simple. Okay, time for movement. This is a simple example. If you understand this, most of it will be easy. For now, it would be really, really easy. So we will just remove everything, and we will just go and, sorry, let's just remove these things we don't need, but let's leave the rigid body here because we need to get the meter. Now, rigid body, this is kind of annoying if you're using, like if you're doing professionally. To make it more clean, we generally don't like to do this, right? We generally don't like to do this, and it can mess up. So how can we ensure that we do have a rigid body? So I think, if I'm not wrong, we need component or something like that was there. No, sorry. Oh, what do we need to do is write rb dot get component, and with the triangles, so what are these called? Angle brackets, you write rigid body. So what this thing does, it says, okay, rigid body, it is blank. Remember, when it says like this, it's blank. Now in the blank, then go to the component that is in the game object. So get component means game object dot get component, which meaning the whichever game object the player controller is in. Simply player. So player has a player script, so the get component will get player's rigid body. So player's rigid body will be dragged like this. So what I'm going to do is just remove the serialized field, because obviously we don't need that. This is done by the, and I'm gonna say print rb dot send name or something. Let's look at the name and let's see what it prints, so we can understand what is going on. So run the game, and in the console, as you can see, player is printed. Why? Because it is get from the player, not from anywhere else. Why? Because the player controller is in the player. Player controller script is in the player. That's the reason RB is the get component gets the component from the player. Hopefully it makes sense. Hopefully. Okay, so in the update function, we need to move. Now there are millions of different ways to move. Seriously, there's literally millions of different ways to move. So the two things, one thing I need another, which is a speed, because obviously if I cannot change the speed, then what's the point of movement, right? Private float speed. And yeah, it should be fine. Let's say in the update function, I'm going to say if input dot get, let's see, what can we do? We will just add a force, right? So for now, we would just go over here. Instead of this, we're just going to remove this, and we need to move forward. So move forward. So how do you move forward? You move forward by say rb dot add force. And what do you add force? Now let's learn how to learn. So rb dot add force, I don't know what is going on, right? What you'll do, you'll just go to your thing, your Chrome, and I'm gonna say rb add for wow, I cannot add force Unity rigid body, and go here and try to understand, because if I tell you that will not help you, right? So get component rigid body, we did this, and we have add force. And how it works, it takes three parameters: the size of the force being in the x-axis, the size of this axis and that axis, and the force mode to apply. It works like this, right? There are multiple different use cases. Like say 0, 0, you want to thrust in a particular direction, do that. Force mode dot impulse. There's a lot of force modes, but we'll not get into those. So simply this is what we need: a direction and a force. So the best way to do that is saying transform.forward, this simply meaning the forward direction. If I go control click and click on the forward here, hopefully, if I'm not wrong, vector 3 the forward, right? So let's go to vector 3 the forward, and wow, nice, absolutely amazing. And it is basically a vector with 0, 0, 1. So you know, it just works like that. So this is basically the forward direction, and just gonna say speed. And one thing is not in there is the time dot delta time. Now let me explain. Every movement in the game, you have 30 frames, 60 frames, but depending on what the computer is running, it varies, right? Some game in your computer, for example, or your laptop, you have some games that play in 60 fps smooth. Some games you cannot play at that smoothly. Why? Because your hardware cannot handle it. So that's the reason you need to multiply this by time dot delta time. So it depends what is happening. Oh, sorry, we need to multiply it here, not what is there. Is it will work? Order of multiplication of words is inefficient. How to fix that? Let's see. Reorder multiplication. Okay, this is, you can do this like this way, because technically, yes, we are speeding up. Basically, we are using the time to delta time in speed, not in forward, because if we do that, we are just changing the direction. We don't want to do that, right? So the speed is the amount that we want to move. We'll add them later. And the time dot delta time is that's what I explained. Depending on the hardware, it will move. So in my PC, it can run in like 30 FPS, for example, but in your PC, it can be like 120. Depends on the PC. And there's another one, it's called fixed delta time, which is basically for any type of movement that doesn't require that type of thing. So hopefully it makes sense. Don't worry about the fixed delta time right now. Just worry about time dot delta time. Okay. So, RB dot at force, transform dot forward, and speed. Now let's go back, and we have a speed goddamn variable. We'll just make it like big like this, and let's do this. And here we go. What the heck? Okay, I think we need more force maybe. Let's just pump it up like 900. And as you can see, why it's not moving, man. Okay, the RV dot add force, and let's add another one. So force mode dot force. The force mode, we'll discuss this a little later, because it's going to be a little advanced and there's a lot of stuff going on. And why it's not moving? Hey bro, just move, damn it. Okay, so hopefully this is not moving, right? This is not moving, but what reason? What is the reason here? And we need to make sure it keeps on moving. Let's just remove this and see what happens. Sorry about that. Let's just see what happens. Force mode dot acceleration. Let's see what happens here. Force mode dot acceleration. We will talk about those in a later video, but why it's not constantly moving? What's the reason? Let's see here. Okay, let's remove the time delta time for now. Time to delta time. Why did Unity change some things? Okay, there we go, it works. Whew, I thought about that, it will not never work. The reason it works like that, because my PC, I think it's calculating it needs more force or something, like something is happening. I'm gonna know that, because obviously I'm gonna know that, and then I'm gonna change it. So yeah, so for now, just live with it. I'm gonna learn it and teach it to you guys as soon as possible. Holy crap, what is this going on here? RB dot add force. Okay, so this is not as you saw, Does this thing had any problem here? Add force at position, add force torque, we have explosion force, relative force. Let's add a relative force here. Let's see what happens. It's moving like a maniac. Okay. All right. After some tweaking around, you don't need to use any force modes. Please don't use any. This thing just works fine. Just works fine. And if I run this thing carefully right now, oh, it works like crazy. Right? It works like crazy. So we have our get component. We get every component, and we in the private rigid body RB, we need to work on the forces. So the first part is done, and now it comes the second part. So this is the second part, which is knowing the movement of the cube. So basically what the game will be, we will have maybe we'll have random cube generation, or I'm gonna just build up a simple lever or something that we need to overcome. If we hit that thing, the obstacle, the game will restart. That's basically what the game will be, and that's what Rakis teaches. And I think this is a really good game for a beginner to actually learn from. So yeah, we'll be creating them. The first part is done. Now the second part, which is move left and right. Now this is a little bit complicated because I want to move when I hit the arrow keys and the A and D keys. The best way to do this is going to, let's explain a little bit about the input system. Edit. Let's go to project settings, input manager, and axis. So you see these things, the horizontal, sorry about that. Horizontal, the type is x-axis, and it gets the motion of all sticks. You don't need to know that this thing is the horizontal is what you need to know. This is horizontal, meaning the left and right. So every keybind is over there. So if you plug in a controller and you run, it will work the same way. So everything is binded here. Everything is binded. The A and D key, the horizontal keys, the A and D keys, the vertical keys are WS keys, and so on, is binded on there. So if I hit if and say input.get axis horizontal, now input.get axis returns a float. So we cannot use the if statement. So I'm going to say float hos equals to, put that bad boy down, and let's see what we can do. If I'm not wrong, if I forgot or something, so we can create a new variable for the left and right movement, private float movement speed, and we'll be using this. So movement speed, and same for now we don't need the vertical one, so horizontal should be fine. And it's time for the movement, right? So how to do that anyways? I forgot. All right, after you have did all of that, now it's time for the movement. So how to do that? Just say rb.add force, then I'm gonna use a horizontal as the x-axis, 0 in the y, and z will be 0. And let's add another one, and don't add any force mode, please, for God's sake. Don't add any force modes. And what the heck this says? Use var. this thing will help you to clean up your memory or something. Just use var, this same thing, and start the float. Okay, so hopefully it will work. Now I'm gonna explain these a little bit later, but for now let's just add a goddamn movement scene. Don't forget, we mostly forget about doing this, and we then cry that why it's not working. And okay, I think it kind of worked. Just make it a little bit slower so we will do camera following sooner or later. What is happening? Let's say vector 3 dot forward. I think transform would have worked, but for some reason I think okay, it's working. Oof. It's working. Use vector 3 forward because now I got it, because the transforms vector 3 is in the it's in the screen space. It's not in the world space. So you need to do the world space. If I am right, if I'm not wrong, if so, just use vector 3 forward. It will make your life a lot easier. So we have this, god damn it, and okay, done. We're done. And to show you how we are done, let's just add a simple 10 force, just 10 force, and boom. And as you can see, it moves. Yay. Okay, so we know that it is like going round and round. Now I wanna that, so we'll be using camera follows. So let's get straight to the video. So we need to make sure that we use the position of the camera. So transform the position is the position of the camera. Let's divide this. Now target pose is basically target dot transform the position, or the game object's position, basically the player's position. Then what you do is add a new vector, vector 3, new position vector. Now this position vector using vector 3 dot, let's use the lerp. Now remember, so you can use smooth damping, but it was like a little messy. I don't really know what is going on over here, but yeah, use the lerp. It works much nicer, right? So I'm gonna explain, don't worry. So what lerping does, it uses the smooth speed and goes from point A to point B. That's about it. So then you need to set up the transformed position to new pose. This is the easiest way to do a camera, because what it does, it takes the position of the player and go to the position of the target. Then we use this speed is the time that it will take. So basically this is the smoothing. Now one problem you will see is it will go into, so if I run, I will explain a little bit here. As you can see, it's in the camera is in here. We don't want this, do we? Then what is the solution? The solution is pretty simple. You need to add an offset vector. So offset. So use this line here, serialize field private vector 3 offset. Then add the offset to the target position. Then the basics of the camera, because it's coming from this direction, is -10 in the z-axis and 2.09 on the y, and x should be 0 because we don't want to mess around with the front and things. Okay, as you can see, it works. It works. I don't know why, but it's like shaking or something. The best way, I think, the possible way I can fix this guy is by using. And what about the movement speed going on here? Let's look at the movement speed and the speed. The move forward speed is the speed. Let's go for 10 and run. I don't know why it's just snapping. What is wrong with this guy? It's snapping like crazy. Interesting indeed. Okay, this is how it works. Okay, so pretty simple, pretty simple, pretty simple, pretty simple, pretty simple. Is the smooth speed of mine was 0.083. That's why it was shaking. So use 1 or something like that. 2 should be fine, and make sure the player's speed is not above than 10, because if you do, well, this player will go super fast, and that's how you create a simple movement. Now I know you're saying that, hey bro, there's no difference between these things. This is a little, if I drag and drop this guy and just drag into this player here, and what I'm gonna do first is show you, just turn off this script and let's see what happens. And as you can see, it just moves in a one direction. It looks really weird. So at least it doesn't that weird. And yes, there's another cool way to do this using smooth damping. I'm going to teach you guys sooner or later. So as you can see, it works fine. Now, after you have done that, now it's time for some obstacles and the collisions. So obstacles and collisions can be really weird and really a little bit confusing to understand that how it works if you're new to Unity, obviously. So the basic way to understand this is by creating a new cube and popping it over here. Let's say 0 minus 1. And make sure it is a little like this. Okay. Or just add a very simple rigid body to it. Don't need to worry about it or anything. Just add a rigid body. It will fall anyways. So we have our thing here, the cube. Now the cube is a body with a box collider. So rigid body will have a box collider. If you don't have a box collider, go ahead and add that box collider to it. Now, how do you identify this is a cube or this is an obstacle? You will use tagging, but I will show you one thing, is how to detect collisions. So let's go back to your script into the player controller, and we have our stuff is really looking fine. Now, to handle collisions, you need to get into the habit of learning functions, different kinds of functions. The function we'll be using is on collision enter. On collision enter is a function that basically checks for anything collides with another thing. So anything meaning the player collides with any other object. So the object will be stored in the other function. So if I say if other, let's just print the name. Print other dot name. And other dot game object dot name. Because what it does, it says, okay, go to the collision and which game object you collided, then find the name. And if I save, and then hit run, boom. And as you can see, it says cube, right? And if I change the name to say obstacle, and if I run this thing again, and obstacle. If I look at here, it says obstacle. Why? Because it goes to the collision, it says the game object, and it says the name. Now, you can look for like if other dot game object dot name equals to let's say obstacle, then say let's just destroy. Now the easiest way to destroy the cube from the scene is destroying game object. And another thing we need to do is after we destroy, we need to restart the game. How do we restart? How do you restart again? Scene manager, And now, if you want to restart, you need to use what's known as a scene manager. So you'll use Unity Engine using Unity Engine, engine.scene management. and go here, scene manager, manager.load scene, scene manager dot get active scene dot build index, and that's how you restart the crap. So scene manager dot load scene basically loads any scene, and scene manager get access scene dot build index is basically will return the index value. Now let me explain what is the index value here. If I'm not wrong, I have to go to file, build settings, player settings, maybe. Oh, okay. Let's say add open scenes. So if I make sure you add open scenes, unless it will not work. So build settings here, and it says 0. So if I have multiple scenes, like different levels, you'll have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on and so forth. So that's why, and that's the reason you will use the build index. You can also use name. We'll do the same thing. But build index is usually faster. Now, there's a couple of problems here. I will explain one by one. Now, if I run the game, it should, as you can see, it's restarting the scene. Now, the problem here is if I have like another one, let's say Control D, and I have another one, I'm just gonna like that and add here. If I run, oh, sorry, it's going up. So let's just put here and let's see. And as you can see, it doesn't work. Why it's not restarting? The reason here is you're using name. The quickest way to use, the easiest way, I should say, to identify what type of object it is, it's using a tag. There's only built-in tags here, but we'll be creating another tag. So I'm gonna create an add tag, and go here to the tag and new tag. Let's add a new tag called obstacle and add that tag to obstacle. Whenever you're creating a new object, make sure you use .add component or add tag or something. So now here we'll say .tag, or I can use a function called compare tag. Let's just remove this, copy everything, Control X, pop it here, and obstacle, then we will say that restart. So now it should work. If I play the game, and it works. That's how you use the things. So let's just add another obstacle here. Let's just make it like this. And over here, let's go over there, and sorry, not using this guy, and let's pop this thing right here. Now if I play the game, okay, see, that's how it works. So make it a little bit complicated, a little bit, and it's, if I hit this thing and it restarts. That's how you create the system of how to detect collisions in Unity. Hopefully you understood what is going on. In the next video, we need to fix a lot of stuff and do a lot of things using what's known as a function. So yeah, thank you for watching. Okay, so now it's time for the next part, which is explaining what functions are and how to use them. Now, as you can see, there's a lot of things going on. So you don't know what are these, only using the comments. But I want a function. If I had like 20 or 30 lines of code, I want to reuse the code. Let me just show you, instead of talking to you, let's just show you how it works. For now, it should work like this. Now let's add a new function called private void movement. Now this is movement. This is user defined function. These are user defined. It means that it is defined by the coder and it's a custom function basically. So to add this, let's add a print statement called hello world. And in so for, understand that there is, sorry, let's just give you another example. Let's use dead or destroy game, or what should they destroy player. Okay, so to understand this destroy player, so this destroy player will have destroy the game object. This is pseudocode, and like say, let's think about start a particle system or something, then we will look at then restart the game, start the game. So imagine these are like, in here it has like 200 lines plus. Now there is many occasions that when you want to destroy the player. For example, when I go down a particular level, I want to destroy the player and restart the scene or whatnot. What do you want to do, right? Let's do it in game. That should be, yep, that makes sense. So there are multiple ways, multiple reasons you want to end the game. Like if you hit something like the obstacle, you go down a bit, you down more, and you use different stuff, like an enemy comes up, you want to end game. Now there are multiple occasions. So will you, like, let's say if player is dead, if player is dead, it is, let's say, on the ground. So basically it is not in, okay, player controller, it's basically player is not in the ground, then I want to end game. Like these 200 lines here. So basically 200, and another reason, like player is not in the ground, there is it, then do this. So 200 lines plus 200 lines is 400 lines. Now, what if I could have stored all of this crap in a function so I can use them? So let's use in-game and in-game. Now, when the player is not in the ground, we want to close the game and we want to complete the game, or we want to destroy the game, I should say. And when we hit by something, we end the game. Now, this is 200 plus 200. Like, for example, there are many reasons. Let's say five reasons more. So 7 reasons in total. So it's 200, 200, 200 times 7 is 1,400 lines of these scraps. But here we write only 200 lines of code and then we just run this like there. That's the power of functions, and this is why I showed everything, why I showed that, because of I want to explain what code reusability is. Code reusability is writing once and then using it anytime, anywhere you want. That's the basics of functions. Hopefully you understood what is going on. I know it can be a little complicated, but still. So destroy the object, start the particle system, and restart the game. I will not touch into particle system, so let's just destroy the object. So destroy, I cannot write today. Destroy game object, it's player controller, and restart the game just like I said. So scene manager dot load scene, scene manager dot get active scene dot build index, and that's how about it. So let's use this properly. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say if I hit by the obstacle, I am going to end the game. Okay, as you can see, we end the game. This will work the same time if I hit any other way, like let's say let's get the transformed position. So let's say float, float y pose, equals to transform position dot y, and if y pose is less than, let's say, a number, let's say 10, then end game. This is how it works, and what I want to do is just redo everything, and we destroy the object, we load the scene. So instead of -10, let's add another variable that should work. Serialized field, private. Why the heck it's not working? Private float, let's say y destroy or something like that should work, and y destroy. Sorry about that. So y destroy. We need to end the game. So let's go back. We save everything. Did I save it? Yeah, maybe. So let's go to the player, done, and this should be a minus value, so let's say -2. The player is 1.28 and 2.1 should be fine. Now if I go, oh sorry, I need to think about that, and let's just make it a little bit more, like 4 should be fine. And if I go down, boom, I get like this. And that's the power of functions, and that's the power of how everything works. Now, there's more to functions. We need to look at like parameters and stuff. And yeah, thank you for watching. I'm gonna see you in the next video. Okay, there's one problem here. In the target pose, it's returning this error, so object type has been destroyed. So the quickest way to fix this is saying if target is not equals to null. Or I can say if target is null, return. That would do it. That would save you from this error. If I play now, now it should not give you any errors. Yeah, it's not giving you any errors. So yeah, this is it. Hey guys, what's up? In this video we're looking at UI. So let's get straight to creating a simple score system, and we'll be displaying this in the UI, which is the user interface of our game. So we have our scene view and the game view is over here. Now, if your game view is over here, don't worry about it. I just used window. Where is it? Layouts and 2x3. That's it. And as you can see, we have our layout. Now, this layout is used by many professionals, I saw. So yeah, it's much more easier to explain. And now it's time for adding a simple score system, right? So what you can do, you can write your scores in the world manager, but what I'm gonna do is add a new game object, and I'm gonna write, let's say, score manager, because score can be added or retracted. But if you can hear the stupid sounds, I'm sorry. So score can be added or retracted depending on many different factors, but for now this is a simple game. You can add these codes into the world manager, but I'm not gonna do that. So let's just delete everything here because I have created a new player thing. And what we're gonna do is just go to the scripts, right click, new C# script, and we'd say score, not Skyer, score manager. Okay, let's open it up, and I'm coming back when it opens. Now it got started here. We have our score manager, and we need Unity-engine.ui because we'll be messing around with the UI stuff. So using Unity-engine.ui, and now you have a lot of things available to you. The greatest part about these types of models is when you need something, you can add them, and you just need those particular behaviors. Like if you don't want artificial intelligence, which there is an artificial intelligence thing, you don't need to add them. So it depends on, these are the modular based, so everything is independent and it's pretty easy to work with. So maybe first we need to print that score. Now let's think what type of score I need. For me, what I have thought is creating a we need a private int score, and in the update function, I'm gonna just simply score plus equals to plus plus, which simply means plus equals to 1. Plus plus will do the trick, and every frame increase the score. Now, yeah, this is another way to do it. There are millions of different types of scores, but I'm gonna explain it in simple terms as possible. So this is how you do this. You do that, and now what we will do is and just print the score. Now it can take a little time here, so we go to the score manager. You give it a new. Hey, come on, work, please. No. Slash icon. Why is not working, mate? Oh, it's because it's under here. I cannot see this. So it's like that, and we have our score manager. It doesn't really matter where you put that thing in. So we will add the score manager here, and we'll run. And as you can see, if I go to the console here, drag and drop here, and it now runs like this. It runs like that. Now we need to show this to the UI here. So to do that, you need to add a new component, UI, and let's add a simple text over here. And to do this, you just hold Alt, and we press it down like this, and you hit this guy, and it just like that. It works like this. Okay, I don't know what I said. So you make it like this. I think this should be fine. And then let's think what we can do. Let's say best fit. Click on best fit, and it will give you a big number. It's amazing how it works. So we will say 0. And can I change the color? That's my question. Because I'm really new to this, and yeah, I think I can change it. Let's just change the color to a white guy. But the white guy, can I see this? Or black, I can see this. So let's just make, this should be fine. And as you can see, to change this, just move around and like that. And we need to get the text option, and we need to change the text game objects text property, and then we just change it to the value. So how to do that? You just add a CLI field, private text. Now this thing will not happen. You cannot get that without the Unity Engine.ui thing. So then we say my score text, and then in the update function, I'm gonna say score text dot text equals to score dot toString. Now, what is this toString guy? toString guy says that integer is a number, right? What it does, it's simply, so for example, score is like, for example, 2. Instead of 2, it will give you like this. The reason it needs to do this is because the text is a string, but score is not a string. Score is a number. It cannot take that number. So you need to use this toString function. Hope it makes sense. And then I'm going to just, yeah, we have done it. And let's add, and let's run the game. And object, sorry. I never done that. So score manager, and drag and drop your text, and then run. And as you can see, this is running. Yay, right? The basics is done right here. Okay, the basics is done right here. And you can now, the store variable, you can change the store variable as many times as you wish, or as many ways as you wish. Now, there's more complex stuff, but I don't want to get into it now. My recommendation is mess around with the score variable. Do some calculations in the update function that changes or manipulates the score value in any shape, way, or form. That's about it. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Okay, this is the part 6, maybe. Let's get straight to the video on how to add more scenes and how to create multiple levels. Yeah, so you need to do is right click here, and I'm going to save scene, and you can use the quickest way to create a new scene if the game is this simple is clicking on this value and save scene as, and go to the scene and say file level 2. And now we're in level 2. Now in the scenes file, you can see that there's sample scene and there is level 2. There's no difference. So go to the level 2 and make it like this guy here and save. Now go to the sample scene. As you can see, it changes. So level 2 is this guy here and sample scene is this guy here. Now, how to change from this scene to the next scene? There's ways to do that. Actually, there's a couple of ways to do that, but the easiest way, but first what I'm going to do is right click, open in Explorer, where is it? Show in Explorer. And I'm going to change, go to the scene, so I'm going to change sample scene, so let's say level 1. And save, and we have a sample scene. Now we're gonna, sample scene has some stuff, but we don't really need them. Just remove everything, and we have level 1, level 2. Don't worry about the sample scene, this should be fine. And yeah, so how do you add the scenes to the scene manager? Go to File, Build Settings, and just click on Add Open Scene. So it will add this guy, and I'm gonna stop this, remove selection, and drag and drop this guy. So remember, you can drag everything, like drag, click on this and then hold shift and click, like if you have 14 or 50 levels, just drag and drop everything here. So 0 and 1. Now the way you can go to the next scene is by using the scene manager, right? So how am I going to do that? What I am going to do is to make the code a little more cleaner, is I'm going to create a new file, C# file called the world manager. So managers need to manage the world. The world manager just basically starts or ends a level depending on what we give it. So how to do that, you may ask. Now it can be a little complex to understand, but I'm going to try my best to teach you what is going on here. Okay, so when we are destroying, we are saying the end game, right? So we're going to create a new world manager. So let's create a new empty object and add here. This is what's known as the icon. So you can, as you can see, we have the icon here. Now in game development, there is in-game development, there is a lot of times you need this blank thing. So world manager. These guys just have a name and it has a script it runs. And what we have to go to is go to the scripts, right click, create world manager. And we have our world manager right here. So go to the world manager and drag and drop your world manager here. Open up your world manager and time for some coding. Then we need to first start by saying, let's say end game or end game, and there can be restart game, but for now in game and restart game is the same thing. So yeah, and we need to destroy some game object. So this guy needs to know what it needs to destroy. So basically, private game object player, and this is what it needs to destroy. Then we are going to be using the scene management. So using Unity engine.scene management, and we can remove these things from here, the scene management, later. But for now, we're going to say destroy player. We need to destroy the player. Then we need to use scene manager dot load scene manager dot get active scene dot build next. This should easily in the game. Now, as you can see, we said public. We need to say this is why it's a void, and yeah, it should now work. So public should work fine. And now we can just delete everything, like right here. We're gonna delete the in-game right here, and then we need to specify. We need to. There's ways to do this, but what is the most easiest way to do this? Let's just add any script file. So serialize field private, and we are using a world manager. So as you can see, we can add an instance of the C# script itself. So world manager, and we say world manager dot. We call the world manager dot end game. And there's another way to do this, which is using the observer pattern, but we'll talk about this in the later sections, and this is more advanced. So maybe I will cover, maybe I will not. It's using signals and stuff. But for now, just understand is this is the much more greater way to do this. So how? What we'll do is in the world manager, we'll specify the player. Make sure you add the world manager. Then in the player, we need to specify the world manager. So no, we need to drag and drop your script here, and it should now work exactly like the same. So this is a way to divide the work into different categories, so you can manage it and use it really nicely. Now, the reason I divided these things into multiple different scripts instead of one, because there's a rule in programming, especially object-oriented programming, that each class should have only one purpose. Each class should have only one purpose. This class's purpose is to find the player and then just move around and do some crap with it. Camera controller's job is to deal with the camera, nothing else. And world manager class is to just start or end the game. That's it. So that's why I divided everything into separate different C# scripts so you can understand. Okay, so now you understand that how to divide different scripts. Now there can be more scripts as well. There's a lot of type of managers. There's world manager, there's scene manager, there's a lot. There's a lot of type of manager. They do different things. So but for now, world manager is what we need. In the later videos, when we'll be using the we'll call a what is called, we'll call it GUI, and you can see this. You can restart and do some crap with it. This is how you do it. So this is basically it. I'll see you in the next video. Welcome back, everybody. Cryptic here, and in this video you guys will learn how to end the game, and there are multiple ways to ending. You can use a score, or you can use a particular game object. When the player collides, you'll go to the next scene. So we'll be coding this in this video. So how to do this, let's go ahead and learn. First, let's create a new game object, and then let's reset its position. Wow, it just came to right in here. Okay, let's just zoom like that. Wow, where the heck is now? Let's just see. Let's just pop right here. Now my stupid mouse is not working, the scroll wheel, so I cannot zoom in. Hope you guys can see. And we have ourselves a thing. Now, we'll create a new material. So in the materials assets folder, right click, create, and material. Material should be named, or let's say end, or next level, or something like that. We'll make it a gold color, because to differentiate, no metallic. I hate metallism, so boom. Let's just add a little, no metallic here. Let's just make it a, which sounds nice, which goes to it. This guy should be fine. This guy should be fine. And we'll be creating this as our in game or something like that. Next level, or the score point. So we will just go ahead and do that, right? We'll just drag and drop our next level to here. Next, we will add a tag, and as you can see, we already have a finish, so we'll be using this. You can create your own tag if you want, and then we will go to the assets folder. Do I need to create a prefab? I hope so. I hope so not, because we'll be using the tag here. Now, we will go to our world manager. Then we'll write public void go to next go to next level, and this level we want to scene manager dot load scene manager dot get active scene dot build index +1. Now, if you understood how this works, it should be fine. So, for example, if it returns 0, which it will be in the first run, this guy will return 0. The 0 + 1 is 1, so it will go to the load scene will be in the next scene. So go to next level. Should be called when we hit this. When we hit this. So go back to your player controller, drag down, let's see. And if the other game object are tagged here, and we'll just add another one. So if other game object dot compare tag, let's say finish. If it does, then world manager dot go to next level. Simple as that, and that's how it works. And if I save, now let's go play the game. Now I cannot play the game. I cannot play my game, and I implemented. As you can see, it now goes to the next scene. If you understood how it works, and object instance is not the instance of that object. So okay. Okay, there's another check we should do is go over here and can I do a format? I'm sorry. Apply syntax style. Oh, that's much better. That's much better. But for now, I'm gonna just spin it. Okay. So we will say if other game object is not equals to null, because it will return no matter what. So if I check this guy and then I pop this guy here, then let's add a format style because it looks much nice. Apply syntax style, and now it looks much nicer, right? Save this game, and now this guy should not return anything. So let's go play. Let's go play, and oh, I cannot play my own game. Boom, and as you can see, it doesn't. Okay, the reason it returns because in the next scene, so go to the next scene, save. In the next scene, hey, come on, I cannot see. we don't have a, do I have a box slider? Oh, the player here. The player is a completely different player, I think. Yep. It doesn't have any world manager, doesn't have anything, right? So what you need to do is just create the world manager and add that world manager to it. So let's create a new game object. Then we'd say world manager tag. We give it a, we don't give it any tag. With the scripts world manager, then we set up the player. We set up the player. Then in the player guy, we set up this. And then in the world manager, go to here and let's add basically what we did there. We need to do here. But the easiest way to, if it's not that identical, what you'll do is first go to File, Build Settings, then right click, remove selection, then delete this level 2 from the scene, then go to the level 2 here, and sorry, don't click on save, please. So here, and we know that this is the game. Basically what this game is, we're just gonna change these things to make it much more, will look more cooler, right? So you just do is here, click on this little icon, save scene as, then go to scenes and level 2.unity. Level 2.2. We have ourselves level 2, and level 2 is identical because of, then let's add a little change here and there so it works. Let's change, like, this should work. This is a little harder. Let's make it like that. Okay, so make it a little further away. Sorry, little further away. Save, and then go to File, Build Settings again. Oh, add open scenes. So that's about it. That's about how we do this. You don't need to do any of that crap to do this. So we have ourselves a 7-minute full. And now let's run and go to the next scene. It couldn't load because File, Build Settings. Okay, File, Build Settings. Bruh, I added this thing. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Let's go add here. Oh no. I cannot play my own game. Wow, I cannot play my... Okay, let's think. Shouldn't load because... Okay, let's see what is the problem. Selection. And then run. Please now work. Oh, wow, I got it. I'm playing in the level 2, how it will work. Just go to the level 1 and then play. Wow. Okay. Well, I cannot play my... I can't... What? Man, I cannot... As you can see, it now works. Okay, it goes to the level 1 and it then goes to the level 2. Hopefully it works. It works. Okay. Done. That's about it. It's another 9 minutes of crap and most of it doesn't even work. So that's the process I want to show you. Is game development is not how you see. Okay, there's a lot of mistakes, a lot of iterations and stuff. So hopefully you understood not everything. You cannot just understand everything. Like I don't understand really everything. So hopefully I understand something, and I will see you in the next video. In this video, we'll be creating a simple in-screen. It will be super simple. So let's get straight to it. First, we need to create a new scene. Then, in the main camera, obviously, we need to say solid color and then perspective to orthographic, change that something like here. And then let's add a simple text and a button. That's about it. Simple text and a button. Okay, so in the text, what we will do is say alt like this, and then the text of the file is like this, and like this. Test fit, like that. Then we're going to change the name. Let's write before, let's change the name to N. The power of Unity is amazing. Then let's make it like that. I know it's the worst end screen you have ever watched in games. So quit. That's it. Quit, and that's what we'll be creating. The funny part is, after you have done, it will do nothing, but it will work. Because in the command called the application.quit will not work when we are in the Unity engine. So we need to create a world manager. Pop that world manager. Don't worry about the player crap. And let's get that guy here. And then we will be creating a quit. So public void quit game application. That's it. Quit game application.quit. Then we just need to hook it up. So on click right here and drag your role manager, no function, application. Then let's run quit. As you can see, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Trust me, when we build the game, it will work. So I think it was one of the 2-minute video. Wow. Okay. Thank you for watching, and maybe there will be a couple of videos, then we'll be completing the course. Okay. It was not over. Wow. We need to save the game. Scene to say end screen. And there's a lot of work. I forgot about that. File, build settings, and then add open scenes. So end screen is on. Then make sure, first of all, I want to make sure that this guy always needs to be absolutely end. So first, what I suggest is create all the levels, then create the end screen, or create the levels, then find the end screen and drag and drop it. Like for example, if you created the level 1, then you added the end screen, level 2, then you need to make sure the end screen is always in the last. So drag and drop the end screen at the end. And then we just go back. End screen has a quit file, but then we need to make sure that it works. So let's play the game and let's see how it works. And let's go to the UI. This is our first thing. Then let's play the game. And boom. And boom. As you can see, we are completed the game. And quit the game, and that's it. And I will be building in the next video. So yeah.